my name is Jenny, welcome back to another video and welcome to my October TBR. So this month I am taking part in Becca's SPOOKOPLATHON. So I will be using the SPOOKOPLATHON board to plan out my TBR, sort of. And yes, my printer only printed half the board, so I've made the other half. I will colour it in at some point. I might even actually print it out properly again at some point, but I can't be bothered to right now. So we've just got a kind of half pretty board today. So I will link Becca's announcement video somewhere up here or down there or somewhere. And she goes through all of the rules, so I'm not gonna do that. But basically there is a couple of things that I'm doing slightly different on this game, just to make it work for me and my own reading this month. And I'm just going to go through those rules now. So first of all, I'm going to be playing this game using the roll as you go method. So that is where I'm not going to be giving you a full TBR today. I have got a huge stack of books, which is going to be my pile of possibilities. It's over 30 books. It is way more books than I'm going to be reading, but that's what I'm going to be picking from this month, probably. But in today's video, I'm only going to be doing my first roll and picking my first read. When I finish the book, I'll then roll again. So you're going to need to be watching my vlog throughout the month to see what I'm reading. But yeah, that's the way that I'm going to play it. If I roll a double, normally if you roll doubles, you have to add a roll. It doesn't really work with a roll as you go. But the way that I'm going to do it is if I roll a double, I will roll again and I then have to combine the two prompts. So for example, if I get, say, small book and present, then that has to be a short book that I am planning to read right now. Simple. I'm also making 3 kind of rule changes, again for myself. For the community shelf, I'm not printing out cards for either community shelf or chance. What I'm doing instead is for community shelf, there should be a list of prompts. I don't want to do that. I am instead going to be picking a book from my jar of book box books. So I'll be reading whatever comes out of there. And for chance, this is normally a list of books that you want to read and books that you don't necessarily want to read right now. So you've got to kind of like chance whether it's good or bad. Chance, I'm going to be picking a series out of my series jar and I have to finish the series. So the chance could be, it might be a nice little duology that I've only got 1 book left to read. It might be Keepers of the Lost Cities where I've got 8 books that are over 700 pages to read. I am going to just allow myself a little kind of caveat on that. If I do get to a point where I'm like, I cannot read any more of this series, I'm going to continue the series, but I can't carry on binging it right now. I am allowed to stop, move on, roll another one, but I then have to treat it as a double. So I have to do 2 rolls and combine those prompts. The third little rule change that I am making is for the lowest rated and highest rated tabs. I use Storygraph to track my books. I don't use Goodreads. So that means that I don't, no, because Storygraph you can't filter by rating. What I am going to do instead is on Storygraph you can see how many times a book has been shelved, and it will show you the book that's been shelved the most times, which for me is Song of Achilles, and the book that has been shelved the least times, which for me is Bodies in the Water, neither of which are in my pile of possibilities. But if I get on highest rated or lowest rated, I'm going to go by the amount of shelves on Goodreads, on Storygraph instead. They are the changes that I am making. So I'm going to do my first roll at the end of this video. Before that, let's go through all of the books that are on my pile of possibilities, so you can get an idea of what I'm planning on reading this month. I have actually only got 1 book which I have to read, and that book I will be picking up. It's a chunky one. You'll understand when you see it. I will be picking that one up probably at the start of the month and reading it, and then if it fits a prompt, as I'm rolling, I will kind of like slot it in there, but I will be reading it regardless. I'm not going to wait for a prompt to come up to fit it in because I don't have time for that. I've just been joined by Bella. So let's go through the books that I'm planning on reading with my first pile, the horror books. Okay, so my horror picks. Now, I am not the biggest horror reader, so I have basically pulled all of the horror books off my shelf. I don't think I'm going to get through all of these ones. If I can get through a few, that would be great. Most of these ones are on my spooky season challenge from Cassidy at Cubs with Cassidy. So again, if I can get to them, that will be great because I'm kind of wanting them for other challenges as well that I'm doing. But yeah, let's see. So we've got What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This one is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher. It is a very little book, so that is great. Right, Bella, you're in the way now, my sweet girl, so I can't really put my books down anywhere. Can I put them there? I've got Compound Fracture by Andrew Joseph White. This one is an arc. I don't actually know what it's about. It's about a feud, a kind of generational feud. It's a YA thriller. Interested in that one. Pine by Francine Toon. This one is set in the Scottish Highlands. There's something to do with tarot cards in here. Again, sounds interesting. Like I said, I don't know very much about most of these. Hell Follows With Us, again by Andrew Joseph White. This one is about a cult and a boy who has escaped from a cult. Things We Say in the Dark by Kirsty Logan. This is a series of short stories. Again, I don't actually know if they're interconnected or not, but they are a short stories collection. Stay in the Light by A.M. Shine. This one comes out in October. It is the sequel to The Watchers. I read The Watchers earlier this year, really enjoyed it, so excited to get to the sequel. It would be good if I could read it this month as it's out. Hide by Kirsten White. This one, I hear very, very mixed things about this one. This one is a competition set in a theme park, I think, and there's probably someone trying to kill everybody. I think you have to just stay hidden. I don't really know what it's about. But again, I hear very mixed things about it. I don't know whether it is going to be one that I'm going to enjoy or not. To be fair, it might be one that, because I don't read a lot of horror, it might be one that I love, even if other people don't. This Cursed House by Del Sandine. This one, I've got a bound manuscript, so I don't actually have a synopsis for this one. But I believe this one is about a haunted house in the deep south. I think this one comes out in either the end of October or November. I will find out when I read it. But yeah, I'm excited to read this one. Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning. I know that this has been on everybody's TBR and I am equally excited to read it. This one is, I believe it's like a kind of camp ghost story slasher set in a summer camp. Sounds good. That's all I know. Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This one, I believe, is a retelling of the Amityville Horror, which terrifies me, but sounds good for a kind of creepy, Halloween-y haunted house read. And then finally in the horror section, Reprieve by James Han Matson. This one is set in, I think, a haunted escape room. Not 100% sure what it's about, but it sounds interesting. There are other books that actually probably should have been on this pile, which I've forgotten about. So I do also, I think I've got William by, can't remember the author, I'll pop it up here. I think I've got an arc of that one which I would like to read. And I've got, I think, a couple of other arcs that I also would like to get to. But again, I've got like 30 books here on my pile of possibilities, so we'll see what I read as they come up. Right, next pile is kind of spoopy books. So this pile is what I'm calling spoopy books. So they're kind of Halloween-y, but they're not necessarily scary. So I've got Dreadwood by Jennifer Killick. This one is, I believe, a middle grade horror set in a school. Again, sounds interesting. The Cinderman by Alex Atkinson. I know this has been on so many TBRs. This one is out in October. I really need to read it. I have clearly an advanced copy that I still haven't read. This one is about two children who live in a funeral parlour until they accidentally awake the Cinderman, a terrifying ash monster. So again, is a middle grade horror. I've got The True Blood Omnibus by Charlene Harris. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to read this one. It's vampires. This is 3 books. This isn't one. I don't think I will pick this one unless I kind of don't have very many options, but I'm putting it on the possibilities anyway. And A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I think this is a Dracula, not a retelling. It's a sort of Dracula, maybe like reimagining. What's it say here? Saved from the brink of death by a mysterious stranger, Constantana is transformed from a medieval peasant into a bride fit for an undying king. But when Dracula draws a cunning aristocrat and a starving artist into his web of passion and deceit, Constanta realises that her beloved is capable of terrible things. So I think, so it's... Okay, so it's like a reimagining of Dracula, I guess. So they're my kind of spoopy, not really scary books. My next pile is fantasy. Okay, so my fantasy pile is quite big. They're not necessarily horror-esque or scary books. They're a little bit all over the place, but we'll go through them. So I've got The Great Wen by Alan Moore. This one is set in an alternative London. It comes out in October, which is why I would like to read it now. It's the start of a new series, and it kind of gives me Dark Shade of Magic vibes just because it's set in an alternate London. I do hear quite good things about it as well. Hello, mind your toes. Good girl. Again, been on so many TBRs. The End Crowns All by B. Fitzgerald. I really need to read this one this year. Like, please, can someone just make me read this book? Because I really want to read this book. Bella's snuggling in front of me now, and just where I'm wanting to put down all of these books, which is very cute, but also a pain. Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. Again, I would like to read this one soon. It is, I don't know if it's a sequel or a prequel, but it is, I think it's a sequel of House in the Cerulean Sea. But yeah, I'm just excited to read it. I really love TJ Klune's writing. Which one? The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is one that I am actually working on. So I could read this one at the end of the month, like at the end of September going into October. I may, honestly, it depends how I feel, because I have read it before and it would be a perfect opportunity for me to now read this version. But also it is a very chunky boy, and if I'm like, don't really want to read it, I don't know. But Bone Season. Queen Bee by Juno Dawson. So this one is the next book in the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series. This one is I guess a prequel, but this one follows Anne Boleyn when she set up Her Majesty's Royal Coven. It is very, very diddy. I'm excited to read it. And finally, in the fantasy section, The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is book 2 in the Live Ship Traders. This is a book that I have to read this month. It is huge, 900 pages. I'm going to be reading this one. I'm going to be starting this one at the start of the month anyway. And like I said, if I can fit it into a prompt, brilliant. If I can't, it is being read regardless, whether or not it fits any of the prompts that I'm reading. If I do fit it for a prompt, I might, because I think I'm going to have this one going as like my second book throughout the month. So if I can fit it for a prompt, I might like roll for another book as well. I don't know. We'll decide if and when that happens. Okay, next section is the mysteries and thrillers. So, like I said, there's a lot of books in this pile of possibilities. Too many books, some may say. I would say. The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I feel like I have to read this book. This is the perfect season to read this book. I don't know why I haven't read this book other than I'm slightly intimidated by it, but yeah, I would like to read it. A couple more Riley Sagers. I've got Lock Every Door and Last Time I Lied. This one is set in a apartment block where you're not allowed to leave, you're not allowed visitors, and you're not allowed to disturb the other residents, and if you break any of those rules I think you get murdered. And The Last Time I Lied is, I believe, set in like a summer camp where some girls went missing, and then we're now 20 years in the future or whatever and finding out what happened. Interested in both of them. The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. This one is a mixed media. I don't actually know what it's about. Reading the back, there's a series of clues hidden in a famous author's books, and people are trying to find out like what they lead to. I don't know what it's about. The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. This one is I think like it's not part of the Truly Devious series, but it follows the same characters. So we're following Stevie Bell, and she is, I believe, she's in a summer camp in this one, and is exploring a murder that happened there. I am excited to read this one. Guilty by Definition by Susie Dent. I really want to read this book. This one is a murder mystery. The clues come to someone who's like, I think, a lexicographer, and it's all about different like words and twisty word clues, and I'm excited by it. I like Susie Dent. This is her adult debut. I think she is a very intelligent woman, so I'm excited to read this one. Speaking of intelligent celebrity authors, Richard Osman's We Solve Murders. I also really want to read this one. I want to read this one this year, whether I read it now or later in the year, but I am excited to get to this one. I loved the Thursday Murder Club series. This is a completely different series, so I'm very intrigued to see how Richard Osman writes in a completely different like world in a different series. And then finally, the last pile is romances pile. But yeah, I tried to keep them to be like seasonal romances rather than just any romance that I feel like reading. So we've got Hex Education by Maureen Kilmer. I think this is just like a witchy romance. I don't know too much about it. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I believe this one is about a ghost and someone who, yeah, there's a ghost, I don't know, ghost of like an author's editor or something, but sounds like it's going to be fun. Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. I'll be totally honest with you, I bought this one 3 for £6 because Sally Thorne wrote The Hating Game, and I thought, well, I like The Hating Game, so that's why I bought it. I'm assuming it's a Frankenstein retelling. And finally, A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. There's witches and demons. That's all I know. So that is, let's pop them down. So that is my pile of possibilities, which now means we need to go into the more important things of the roles. Well, the role singular. So let's get my board out. I'm going to need to move the cat. Okay, so this is a very unprofessional setup. I don't have dice, so we're using my phone instead. Bella, leave my counter! That one. I am being assisted, as you can tell, by Bella, who is of no help at all. But because, I don't have dice, so I'm using a dice roller, and we are going to roll. Oh, how do I do that? We are going to roll these dice, and I've got 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Present. Excellent. That's basically a mood read, a book that I would like to read right now. Okay, so for the prompt of present, that is a book that I want to read now. I was going to be sensible and put on The Mad Ship, but like I said, I'm going to be reading that one regardless. if I can make it fit a prompt, that's a bonus rather than I need to have it to fit a prompt to read it. So I'm actually going to allow myself to kind of take the mood read, and I'm going to be putting on Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning. I have wanted to read this book, I say for ages, for like the last month, and I keep on kind of being like, oh, I don't know if it's the right time. So Heads Will Roll is going to be my first official book of SPOOKOPLATHON. I will also be reading The Mad Ship, but this is going to be kind of like a slow read throughout the month rather than like my first official read. So Heads Will Roll is the first book on the TBR. You'll need to tune in to my vlogs this month to see me read Heads Will Roll, read everything else, and see what else I end up picking up this month. Apologies for the chaos of this video. If you like this video, please leave me a like, subscribe down below. If you want to leave me a comment, let me know if you are going to be taking part in SPOOKOPLATHON this year, and whether you're playing the roll as you go or the set and the TBR method. If you don't really have anything to say and you just want to let me know you are here, leave me leave me a tree emoji for Heads Will Roll, because it's set in a campsite, so there's like trees around. And if you've made it this far, I love you the most, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.